He terrorized San Francisco in the late 1960s, claiming the lives of at least 5 individuals. He sent cryptic messages to the police and media, written in a coded language that only deepened the mystery further. His name is the Zodiac Killer, and he remains a fixture of true crime history to this day.
My name is Dr. Eric Hickey. I'm a criminal psychologist. My areas of interest are sex crimes, homicide, crime scene development, psychopathology, stalking, violent crime.
Since the identity of the Zodiac Killer remains unknown, we'll take a look at this killer's behavior and motives to give us a clue on who he really was.
I think the Zodiac, a high level of narcissism, fairly intelligent and wanted some attention. And so by killing these couples, we immediately put him in the spotlight. And he was obviously savvy enough not to get caught.
The FBI has described the Zodiac Killer's victims as seemingly random, brutal murders. The first case definitively attributed to the Zodiac Killer were the murders of David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen just before Christmas on December 20th, 1968. Reportedly, the Zodiac Killer approached the couple in the vehicle, ordering them out of the car at gunpoint. He opened fire on them, killing both before leaving unseen.
I believe that the Zodiac's MO was primarily initially to gain notoriety, to gain attention. And I think it was a power trip for him, feeling that he could just execute people and get away with it.
6 months later, on July 4th, 1969, the Zodiac Killer attacked Darlene Ferrin and Mike Mageau. The manner was very much the same, but this time, Mageau survived, gravely wounded.
Zodiac was not robbing anybody at the time. He simply shot them point blank and then probably watched the news very carefully to see how the news would play it out. And the more the news played it out, the more he got involved, because I think he really liked feeling powerful. And he liked playing the games, which he did a lot with the police.
In both cases, it very much seemed that the Zodiac's motive was to kill and cause a stir, especially since there was no major torture or sexual sadism involved in the crimes.
The Zodiac case was less gruesome initially because there was no sexual component to it. There was nothing sadistic. There's no body parts taken. There were no trophies, no souvenirs. It was just the actual shootings. And, murders were not uncommon in the Bay Area at that time. And he doesn't want to be forgotten. He wants to show that what he's doing is a big deal.
However, the third attack would play out very differently. On September 27th, the Zodiac targeted a couple, Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell, in another secluded area. Dressed in an unusual costume that appears to resemble an executioner's hood, he approached the couple and explained he needed money and a car. He then tied the couple up, pulled out a knife, and stabbed them both repeatedly. He also claimed he was a prison escapee. This is the first and only known murder where the Zodiac used a knife.
So the Zodiac ramped up his behavior because he knew it would get him more attention, which it certainly did. But a knife is much more personal. Stab somebody than to shoot them. He knew that by stabbing his victims, that would give him more notoriety. He also knew that it would draw more media attention. I think he was very strategic in how he behaved. I think he thought it through carefully. What shall I do next?
This was also the second instance in which one of the victims survived. Like Mike Mageau, Brian Hartnell survived the encounter.
I believe the Zodiac probably was more nervous than sloppy. The Zodiac was not a seasoned killer. I don't think he knew exactly where to stab somebody to get the best results. I think he did it quickly and then to leave so it wouldn't be seen. And so people did survive, not because he wanted them to survive, because he just wasn't very effective as a killer.
The Zodiac would commit his final confirmed murder on October 11th. The Zodiac took a cab and shot driver Paul Stein at point-blank range with a 9mm pistol that did not match the pistol from the Ferrin murder.
So the Zodiac likes to mix up his MOs. By shooting them and then stabbing them, keeps the police off kilter. It impedes investigation. I mean, this is where he's starting to really toy with the police. It didn't matter to the Zodiac who he killed. He just wanted to get a response from the public. And so by shooting a cab driver, not a problem. He could do that and then walk away from it. I mean, this man was taking control of San Francisco.
Throughout the course of these murders, the Zodiac began a correspondence with the police and media that would amplify his reign of terror. Between 1967 and 1974, the Zodiac Killer sent more than 20 written communications to the police. In these letters, he revealed details about the crimes that only the killer would know, and gave himself the moniker of the Zodiac Killer.
Here he has contact in the media, which, again, spreads his notoriety throughout the city, throughout the nation, actually. And it became a huge case, and no one could find him. He liked the game, and it's about winning the game, and he was winning. So the first letter that the Zodiac wrote was basically bullshit.
The Zodiac Killer's first cipher was not complicated and was decoded rather quickly by a couple. The cipher, which included misspellings, did not reveal the Zodiac's true identity, rather just put forth his menacing agenda, saying, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all."
He's like poking the bear. What can I do to really keep things moving? He does not want to become irrelevant. He does not want to fade into obscurity.
In his letters, the Zodiac would threaten police if he didn't receive adequate media attention. At one point, he also threatened to blow up a school bus, but he never carried out his threat.
First of all, anybody knows when you read this kind of material, you know that this is all grandstanding. It's got nothing to do with reality. It's about his need for attention. It's interesting about serial killers. Some of them do live in their fantasies, and that's comfort enough for them. Or others, they know they're a big name, and so they want to capitalize on that.
The Zodiac sent several ciphers, two of which still remain unsolved today. Most recently, one of the ciphers was solved in 2020 by a team of coders. It said, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner, because I now have enough slaves to work for me, where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise. So they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that my new life will be an easy one in paradise death."
And that's just all hyperbole. It's meaningless. He just wanted to keep the pot stirred, keep the mystery going. But you gotta admit that he made a code that lasted for many, many years. It wasn't cracked.
After the death of victim Paul Stein, the Zodiac killings suddenly stopped.
So the murder suddenly stopped, and no more Zodiac. So he's either incapacitated, he's in a hospital, or he's in a prison, and there wasn't enough DNA to find him.
How would we profile this killer based on the way he committed his crimes?
To profile the Zodiac, at least from my perspective, what I know of the case, he was somebody who had a reasonably intelligent job where he requires some intelligence. I think he believed he was smarter than law enforcement, and he was, apparently, because he got away with it. I think he was a man of not respected enough by society, maybe by his family. I think that probably upset him, affected his self-esteem, because he probably felt he deserved more than that. And finally, he got to be somebody. And he proved that he could do it and get away with it. So a man that looked around at people and looked down upon people, generally, is I'm smarter than you, I'm better than you, and I'm going to show you. And sure enough, he did. In reality, he was a lowlife.
Throughout the course of their investigation, the police questioned many persons of interest. Among these, a list of 4 prominent suspects that all seem like they could be the killer in one way or another. They are Richard Gaikowski, Arthur Lee Allen, Richard Rick Marshall, and Lawrence Kane.
Arthur Lee Allen died not too long ago. I think he was one of the more prominent suspects.
Arthur Lee Allen had several interesting circumstances that made him a possible lead. For one, he was reportedly given a Zodiac watch for Christmas in 1967. He wore this up until it was seized during a search warrant carried out in 1991. It's possible this is where he got the name the Zodiac. The logo of the watch is a cross symbol, similar to the Zodiac Killer symbol. After receiving the watch, Allen made several comments to a friend about a book he wanted to write that would play out his fantasies. It involved a killer named the Zodiac, who killed couples at random and taunted police. He was also said to be fascinated with the idea of hunting people. During a police interview in 1971, he referenced the novel The Most Dangerous Game, which was also referenced in one of the Zodiac's letters. The Zodiac left a size 10.5 footprint on the scene. Allen also had a size 10.5 foot, according to a police report. And in 1974, he was arrested and committed to a mental institution after being charged for molesting a child. After his arrest, No further authenticated Zodiac letters were ever received.
He certainly could have been the killer, but there wasn't enough evidence to prove that clearly. I think of all the four, that would probably be the best shot. But when I was pulled in as a consultant on the Unabomber case, on the Unabomber take Kaczynski, the day I was brought in, I was sworn in San Francisco. They said, so we're pretty sure we have the right guy already, but we're going to have you come on anyway just to help us out. But we're 99% sure that we have the right guy. Well, they were 100% wrong. Everything fit except this one little piece. They couldn't make it fit because it wasn't him. But they thought they had the right guy.
What were some of the possible internal motivations and machinations behind the Zodiac Killer's spree?
When you ask me these questions, I literally put myself in the place of the Zodiac. What would I do as a Zodiac? I do not believe that he was mentally ill. I don't think that he didn't know right from wrong. He absolutely knew exactly what he was doing. This was a head trip for him. This was a power control issue. He loved the control, and the game he played out was played so well that all these law enforcement officials could not track him down. A true narcissist is someone who, it's all about them. Everything is about them. Some people are narcissistic a little bit, and that's okay, but people who are true narcissists, they have this personality that you really can't survive them because they always have to be in charge. It's always about them. It will never be about anybody else but them. He wants to control the city. And by doing that, he creates fear. I can kill people wherever I want to go. I can kill them no matter where it is in the city. You are all at risk. Look out. Here I am. And so he shows I can stab them, I can shoot them, or I can be in a cab. You never know when you might get killed. So that created a lot of fear in the city. Put a lot of pressure on law enforcement. And the more he did, the more he got away with it, I think the more powerful he felt. He was not going to be caught. And of course, he never was caught. I suspect by now he went to his grave. I'd be very surprised if he was still living today. I guess I could also add, I think that the Zodiac was a real coward, a very much cowardly man. Fearless in that he didn't care what he did, but he hid. He wanted to be somebody, wanted to make a name for himself, but he didn't want to go public. He never really wanted to get caught, but he wanted to enjoy the newspapers, the notoriety of being in control of San Francisco. That was one of his probably major motivations was, look at me, you'll never catch me. I'm so good at what I do. I'm such a coward.